Welcome, welcome, warriors. Thank you for joining me on this cold night. Well, I'm in New York City and it has been a freezing day, but you may be in New Orleans, or I was scheduled to do an interview with Nancy Grace today, and she was snowed in Atlanta. And so that was pushed off until tomorrow because her crew couldn't get there. Her studio is in Atlanta, and they're not prepared, from what people are telling me, with sand and plows, and they don't know what to do, the salt and all that. So anyway, I hope everybody is safe. I want to start with a couple of things. The first thing is, give me a 5x5. I want to make sure everybody can hear me, with all the technology I see. Let's see. Lionel Nation 5x5. Cold Hard Toronto. Lionel sent me. Cold Hard, I don't care how you got here, you're here. So good for you. Congratulations. Joseph is here. Hello from Salem, Oregon. Okay, let's start with a couple of things that are really bothering me today. As everybody filters in, Hillbillies here, 5x5, great. You do know there's a little bit of a lag with all of this. So I may be miles ahead of you, and then your comments pop up. And I want everybody to weigh in about things because we hit the ground running. First of all, I'm going to start with thanking everybody. I had a tremendous birthday on the 19th, this past weekend. It was a terrific weekend. I want to thank all of you for your messages of love, your messages of wanting to help, your messages of just goodwill, and which empowers me to work on human trafficking, slavery. Remember, we're calling it slavery now, the enslavement of people, much more descriptive. I don't like the word trafficking. And really helps me do a better job. I am extremely focused, especially with the new administration, more focused than ever. I'll leave that for another program, though. So we started out the weekend with that. So thank you. I received gifts. I received food. I received flowers, donations. Please, terrific. I ask all of you, continue that goodwill and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I want to hit the 10,000 subscriber goal. I have no shame, because that puts us in a new superhighway on YouTube where more of the videos will be recommended. The information we share will get out to the public more. That is the link that is missing. I know all these things, perhaps. Government knows things. Other organizations, nonprofits know a lot of things. But I'm always, I don't want to say arguing, that's not the right word, but saying, how do we get all this information correctly out into the public's hands when we have school systems that go against us, a lot of governments that go against us, could even have doctors go against us? We have to be the leaders. We have to get the information to you. So remember, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and share the videos. It's free. Okay, unless you want to become a member for $2.99 a month. A small pittance to help support human trafficking, slavery survivors. Let's see. Hillbilly saying, evening warriors. Mindy Franklin Levine is here. Enslavement of people. Trafficking makes it sound moral. Thank you, Mindy, for saying that and joining us tonight. I do. I'm always in meetings, and I always say human trafficking because that is how it's referred to, described. But I always say, and the warriors are now calling it slavery, enslavement of people. People understand when I say that to them. Trafficking, they don't really understand. And what happens when people don't understand? They tune out. They close the door. They close their eyes. They don't want to know about it. We have to know about this. This is, and I'm saying this based on sources I have, information given to me, boots on the ground. I'm going to leave it at that. Number one crime in America. This is an American crisis, the enslavement of people. And it affects rich, poor. Although I'm going to say a tremendous fact was presented to me today. January, right now, is National Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month. So that's great. A lot of organizations, people, individuals, groups, nonprofits, government, everybody's having a summit. Everybody's putting information out there. That is great. But I'm here to say it has to be 24/7, 365. It has to be every day of every week of every month. The work cannot just be pushed in the month of January. It's good to have awareness. Can't hurt, right, everybody? But we need to continue the messaging, right, all throughout the year, because things then just fall off. I notice this every January. We do lots of different activities and coalitions and groups and speaking out, and then it just kind of peters down. And it's up to all the different little groups and organizations and silos in government. And I am very excited because I've been invited by Senator Marsha Blackburn's office back to my first for 2025 in the new administration is Senate Roundtable. So that's coming up. And I will be saying all of these things because for once, people are asking me, how can we change things? I'm kind of, well, I'm a warrior. And that's why I say I want all of you to join me and to come along with me and be your own warrior. And if I say something, just don't, you can pretty much trust me. But I want you to do your research. I want you to do your homework. I want you to look things up. I want you to engage. I don't care if you have 5 minutes a day. You delegate five. Everybody can figure out how to carve out 5 minutes a day, right? Stop scrolling on the devices. 5 minutes. Do some education. Do some critical analyzing. Do some critical thinking. Your brain will be so sharp. There is so much going on right now. So we're going to get into a couple of things that are really bothering me. And I'm going to just start speaking out a little bit because that's what I'm going to do, everybody. We have Marguerite here. Welcome. Hello, warriors. We have Joseph. Hi, Marg. Joseph Salas here. Jonathan is joining us. Do they still put the little pictures on milk cartons? No, they don't. That started with Aton Pates back in the late 70s here in Greenwich Village in New York City, where I am. And I do not believe they do that anymore. And forget who's drinking milk. We have, maybe we could put it on water bottles. Everybody seems to be walking around with those water jugs and water bottles and things like that, at least here in New York. Maybe that's a way to go. But we have the internet. So let's leverage it for good, right? And instead of just thinking, negatively, because there's a lot of negativity all around, things to discuss, let's manifest this positivity. But here's what I want to start with. Now, bear with me. The AI press conference President Trump did yesterday. Now, let me make something very clear. There is no alternative. I am honored and proud and support the current administration. So you can like me, you can not like me, you can do whatever you want. I don't really care because I know the work we do at the Warriors and we need to have support. And I have to tell you, the last 4 years, I did not have any support. I was not welcome. Okay. It's bad enough I'm in New York City. I still don't get a lot of support, although I put my face and go to everything I can go to and say my 2 cents. That being said, I am thrilled to be able to have an open door. And here's what we're going to do. Because what I always say is to everybody, and of course I say with all due respect, if it's a senator, a congressperson, I would say it to the president myself, nothing works. I think he knows this already, though. It is time to redo everything. I found out in Washington, much to my shock, when I started going there about 5 years ago, working on all of this, that they just pretty much, and this goes for a lot of Republicans and Democrats too, so let me just say that, they check off a lot of boxes, at least for the trafficking, the slavery. It would be the same groups getting monies over and over again. And then President Trump, and I attest to this because I was there, started giving monies, funds to groups working, resources in this slavery, in this trafficking, that would never receive funds before. And so they were able to grow and take care of business and help survivors. Remember, this is not, we all know it's bad, right? About this slavery. Enough of that. That's something else I say all the time in meetings now. We need solutions. We need interventions, education. I'm tired of everything. Raise awareness. We know about it already, right? We need now the solutions and the take actions. The biggest thing we need, though, is the public to come on board and to understand. I'm going to be very frank with you. We are not going to stop human trafficking. Again, slavery. You'll say I say those both at the same time so people don't get confused. Until I brainwash everybody and that you call it slavery nonstop. We're not stopping it. It's the biggest criminal enterprise making the most money. That is the bottom line. When people ask me, why is this happening? I say because it makes money. It's a very crass answer, but that's the truth. And we're about truth and facts here at the Warriors. Makes a lot of money. It rivals the drug trade. I am told by my sources, it's bigger. It's easier to traffic people, enslave them. Okay. You can, and you all know this already. You can sell a child over and over again. And the drug business is complex. And that reminds me, a great friend of mine, Derek Maltz, who was running the DEA here in New York, he retired, stepped aside. But I've interviewed him several times here on the Warriors. He's just a great man and a New Yorker by birth. It was just announced he's coming kind of out of this retirement, although he never really stopped working on the side, and he's taking up this whole new position with the DEA. Also, a great shout out to the DEA special agent in charge here in New York, Frank Tarantino, a supporter of the Warriors. You can also find that interview here on the channel. Can't do enough. And I'm telling you this because it used to be people heard DEA, right? And they ran the other way. The DEA now has a partnership program. They're going into schools that will welcome them. They are going into homes. They are going into communities. They want, like we want at the Warriors, you to come on board. We want partnerships. We don't want to dictate things, tell you how it's supposed to be. You may have an idea I never thought of, or the DEA never thought of, and they may have an idea. So we need to have these partnerships. And that's what I want you to do at home. I want you to figure out how to have your own family partnership. Bring the kids in on everything. Let them be a part of everything, obviously. You're the parent. I don't have to explain that. But we need to include them. When we do our focus groups, the biggest complaint I get is the kids will say, my parents don't listen to me. My parents are too busy online. My parents are doing this. My parents are doing that. Granted, everybody's overwhelmed. You're working, you're trying to pay the rent, the mortgage, buy the food, make the car payments. We got crazy here, crazy there. You got to carve out where I started with that 5 minutes a day and just have that family partnership. I used to say digital family partnership because of the devices, on an average, 9 to 17-year-olds, 4 devices in the home, the phones, the Chromebooks, the gaming, laptops, 4, average of 4. So remember what I always tell you. If you give your child a device, let's use the phone as an example, that is opening up your front door and welcoming in the world. You're not locking anything up. And you're saying, come on in, world. Just sit down at my table, eat my food, talk to my child. You would never do that. You would never do that. Why would you hand your child a device and not have discussion, guardrails? I mean, basically, you can set up the guardrails. You can YouTube anything and get a tutorial. Now, big tech has proven over and over again to us that they do not have our children's best interests, really anybody's best interests. That's the facts. They put profit over human dignity. They admit to a lot of things. We have plenty of studies that tell us about the dangerous algorithms, eating disorders, bullying, self-harm, and the ultimate harm. I'm very careful. We have algorithms as well here on YouTube, so I don't say certain words, but I think you can read between the lines. And so they're not concerned, which makes you have to step up and be that warrior to be concerned. And I know you can do it. You can always write to us, lynn@lynswarriors.org. Go to the website. I named everything lynswarriors.org because I really just woke up one day, turned to my husband and said, I'm becoming a warrior. I assure you, a word I never used, meaning, and a peaceful, loving warrior. I want everybody to understand that, is that we have to take charge. Now, let's get back to a couple of issues. Let's make sure I don't miss any comments. Why does serious issue never seem to get any traction? Cold hard Toronto? That's fine, but we're here to make the traction. We have to think like that. That's a warrior's move. We be the leaders. We create the traction. If we have 5 people here or 500 people here, our warrior's motto is if we effect change with 1 person a day, a child, whether we educate, whether we help a survivor, whether we do a media hit, whether we put our names on something in Congress. I'm very proud to say with Senator Cruz's office, the Warriors has entered into the legislation for the Take It Down Act. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And that is something we're going to be talking about because it ties in with the AI I want to get going on. I started with, and I digressed, everybody. Securing the border will help. The border, as of any moment, will have 10,000 boots on the ground. I believe 1,500 were deployed as of yesterday. The border is in effect closed. That horrible app was shut down. We want people to come here. We want good, hardworking people who want a better life for themselves and their children to come here. But we don't want them just walking into our country. They must come here properly. We work with a lot of immigration attorneys, and they have clients that have worked 7, 8, 9 years who are so distressed what they've been seeing over the last few years. So all of that is being taken care of. A big part of that is Derek Maltz. I mentioned the DEA, our good friend Tom Homan, border czar, who had a clear-cut plan, day one and running. A lot is going on. It is just our job. Let's not complain. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep sharing information and facts. Let's keep being supportive of each other. Sharing facts, not fears. We like to do that because, I point out to you a lot, these videos where people drop certain words or they just repeat a sensational story. And then I look at them and they're like, oh, I got 1 million hits. I'm putting out information. I'm putting out things for you to think about. But I'm happy with whatever we get because, again, we're about one person a day affecting change. And then we've done our jobs. That is the way we think. So what I want to also say is this. I have to mention it because it's really bothering me. Let's go back to 2 things. I will not call her a bishop, even though I guess that's her official title, this Marianne Buddy. I wish, and you should all know the story, and the story is at the National Prayer Service, how she made this very political speech to President Trump and everybody else in attendance. I wish this woman had the same fervor and messaging and cared about our women and girls and all children and all people being trafficked in the United States. I wish she would get up on her pulpit and talk about that, right? And I also found it, I'm not going to go into too much detail. You're going on The View. I usually never talk about that show, The View. Why bother? I don't want to give my brain power away to that. What is that going on The View? I'm going to leave it at that. I understand she's not apologizing. That's fine. I'm going to stress again. I'm going to be going to meetings and saying, I wish she had the same energy and focus and could talk about, and I don't mean yesterday talk about it with the president and first lady and everybody else, our vice president and families in attendance. But she would focus on America and children being trafficked. Okay. As I'm sitting here talking to you for, let's see, about 18 minutes now. Okay. That's about 36 children trafficked, exploited, enslaved. Okay. Let's talk about that. And she's not. So she disgusts me. So let's not give her any more attention. I want everybody to be aware of things, though. And here's my message. The American people have spoken. They have chosen this administration. Nobody likes, I travel a lot across the country. They don't even know who I am when I show up in places a lot of times. And as I get to know them and talk to people, nobody likes what has been going on over the last 4 years. They just don't like it. And I'm talking about a lot of people out west, all over the place. And so the American people have spoken, and that should be our answer to everybody. The American people have spoken, so we don't spend time. We need to spend time on important issues. Let's get into this AI. I have been very concerned, and if you've been following the shows, about AI, artificial intelligence, especially the AGI, the generated. And the concern is with the safety for children. So let's just break this down. But before we do, let me make sure I don't miss any comments, because once I start talking, I digress all over the place. James is here. Dan, sick, twisted left. Now, Dan, don't hold back, but I don't want to name call anybody. Let's not waste our time. We're not going to call anybody. A lot of people, they have their beliefs. A lot of people on the right, for lack of a better term, I don't like labels. I don't like left, right, conservative, up, down, whatever you want to be. I like American. We're Americans, right? But That being said, we have Democrats and Republicans. There are a lot of Republicans that have very strong opinions, never waver. A lot of Democrats, strong opinions, never waver. So let's just not call anybody names. Okay, we're Americans right now. James says, evening. Oh, Catherine says, hi. Welcome, Catherine Smith. Um, you don't go on The View when you claim to promote unity, wrecking ball, preacher lady. Okay, LJ Jackson. I agree. I agree about that one. But you know what? She did it. It's over. Let's learn a lesson. We must remain vigilant. And I've been saying this since November 6th. We must remain vigilant at all times. I know there were a lot of celebrations. It was a great birthday weekend because my birthday was followed by the inauguration and a great day for America. And I feel like President Trump, it's kind of weird. I feel like I'm still in shock, but he never left the White House. I know that's hard to say with everything that happened in the last 4 years, but when I saw that vision of him sitting at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, I really couldn't believe my eyes. Signing, as promised, promises kept, these executive orders we knew were coming, especially about the border, genders, all of that, okay? And look at all that has gotten done in the last, I don't know, 24, 36 hours. I think more than the last 4 years, definitely. But anyway, it was a great weekend. Monday, time to get down to business, everybody. We must remain vigilant. We can't just be in this celebratory mood. It's going to be a tough haul. Now, that being said, we must remain grounded. We must remain, again, with facts, not fears. We must talk to each other. We must be loving. We must do something for somebody else. Every day you can do a little something. I don't care if it's hold a door for somebody. Do it. Just a little something. You will feel so much better. Smile at somebody. I'm in my elevator tonight, coming in from the freezing cold. There was a woman, she's looking at the ground, she had her phone, whatever. I just said, good evening, how are you? She looked up, almost shocked that I spoke to her. And when I got off, she was getting off after me. I said, have a good night. Little things like that. Now, I'm not preaching to you. Maybe I am a little bit. I want us to be loving, peaceful warriors based on facts and truths. We are the leaders, and we are going to win. We're already winning. Now, we are part of all of this, but we can't lose our minds. We can't have anger. We can have our opinions, but let us not engage. I have always been of the mind, I always say this to my husband, I ignore people as opposed to engage because that actually gets them a little more crazy. I shouldn't be saying that, but I don't engage them because there are people you just can't win with. No matter how many facts you have, how many truths you have. And frankly, I am too busy being a warrior because our bottom line is education. Our bottom line is we do a lot of survivor work behind the scenes you never see here online. I could have a very well-laid plan for the day, for the week, and something happens. A child needs help. Services are needed. We do all this behind the scenes to help with everything going on. So I got to take care of that. I don't have time for all that other nonsense. But you know what? We are going to talk about AI, and we must. I started with that. So I saw the press conference in the Oval Office, and I saw Larry Ellison, CEO of Oracle, and I want all of you to do a little homework. I'm not going to give you all the facts. Look up Larry Ellison of Oracle, real estate entrepreneur, coming together for this new initiative, Stargate, along with Sam Altman, 39 years old. He is the CEO of OpenAI. Remember when the Chat GPT started probably over a year and a half ago? There was a big media kind of push and everybody loved it. All of a sudden it appeared on everybody's computer. I mean, it's been around, but all of a sudden it was kind of launched. And he actually was partnered up with Elon Musk. They started all this and they've gone their separate ways now. And then there was Masayoshi Son, the CEO of SoftBank. And they're standing there and they're going to be making this big investment in AI. And that's fine because it's here, whether you realize it or not. Again, we will be waking up someday and I don't know, the computer will talk back to us. It's just going to be here. We know it. The tech people we work with at the Warriors and we speak to behind the scenes, they won't say this out loud, on a computer. They're like, Lynn, we're scared. These are real tech experts, Silicon Valley, and we don't know. It's uncharted territories. So it's good that President Trump is bringing these three people to the table. Well, there's a part of me, it's a little clubby, but that's okay. The alternative is far worse, everybody. So we can't go there. Um, and they're talking about healthcare and AI. Yes, wonderful. Vaccines and AI. Moderna stock was up over 7% today with the Larry Ellison talk about uh, the cancer vaccine. Okay, whatever. But here's what I want to hear, everybody. Now, back me up on this one. And this is where I'll need you as we move down the line. Every time we have AI conversation, discussion, groups, I want us to also have AI discussion, the partner to it, about children and AI. And I say this because AI can and will be very detrimental to children. First of all, where does AI get all of its information? Where is it culled from? You have to be very careful. I've already tested things and I put things in, and what comes back to me, the words are not words. The information is not what I necessarily, the point of view, want to put out there. I'm going to leave it at that because, again, we have the algorithms. So even if you use the chat GPT or AI, be very careful because that could influence our children and with the wrong information, right? It also, AI leads to CSAM, child sexual abuse material, the biggest fear of all for everybody, including Washington, even though they're not speaking about it right now because everybody's speaking about everything else. And certainly it's a busy time, confirmations in Washington. So, anything with the children and the families kind of falls to the bottom of the totem pole. Am I allowed to say that? I guess so. I said it. We have to keep an eye on this. So I want AI. What if the algorithms in AI are suggesting bullying is good? I'm just using it as an example. Our children can't learn that. Also, we have to understand the AI replaces children, all people, but I'm focused on kids right now. Their critical thinking, their critical analysis, their own research. There are schools here in New York City public schools have recommended that children use AI. So instead of going like we did to the old, as I date myself, the old dictionary or the old World Book Encyclopedia or Britannica or the library, well, we'll just do our AI for our homework. The teachers are actually suggesting that here in New York. Not a good idea. But we're going to have to learn somehow to deal with all of this and how to put those guardrails and how to appropriately. Our children need to think. Remember, though, the kids are our future adults, our future leaders. That's why I say we must remain vigilant. I mean, we're all celebrating right now. Everybody's happy. Lots of great things happening in the last 48 hours, I'll say. Actually, since November 6th, I'll say that. And, and by the way, for those of you, but I don't think anybody's here, when I go to these meetings and things like that and roundtables, people should really have my idea. Human slavery belongs to no political party. Human rights abuses, both sides of the table should be able to come together for this and discuss it, the protection of children, of families, of all people. Okay? It should not be weaponized as I've witnessed it has been. I'm going to leave it at that. That is why the Take It Down Act, Senator Ted Cruz, Texas, and Senator Amy Klobuchar really came together and did a good job on the Take It Down Act. Democrat, Republican, coming together, doing a job and saying it needs to really be bipartisan. Okay? So now we've got let's get back to the AI. I want to hear a companion piece all the time from President Trump, from his Stargate group, about the children. How are we going to keep them safe? How are we going to do this? This child sexual abuse material, this creation of all kinds of, and I'm not going to lay it out here. Again, I'm going to mention the algorithms. How are we going to protect? Even if your child's face, they'll create fake children, you know this, to be used for inappropriate things. What if they take your child's face and put it on another body and upload that to every porn site available? Okay? That is why the Take It Down Act relates to AI, because it makes it a piece of legislation that puts the big tech platforms on notice. If you are contacted about an inappropriate, image, dialogue, and you don't respond and take that down within 48 hours, you will be held responsible and be given a fine. Now, we had a lot of congressional hearings in the last few years. It is so heartbreaking with parents whose children have been harmed by the dangerous algorithms and really trekked to Washington, God bless them, holding up signs of their children and wearing their children's faces on their T-shirts. And, Mark Zuckerberg at one point turned around and just gave them such a half-hearted, less than half-hearted, I'm sorry. That doesn't do anything good. The common excuse out of all these big tech platforms, and they were all there testifying in front of Congress. We don't have enough resources. We don't have enough man or woman power. We are doing our best to protect children. It's a very slippery slope since everything is in favor of big tech, with Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. So unless we amend that, sunset that, do something with that, what are we going to do? We have to be the protectors. We have to talk to the kids. How about all the kids out there, though? I also bring this up. There are no answers for this when I say this. There are so many kids out there that don't have protectors. Single parent household, or maybe the parent is drug addled. We deal with a lot of kids here in New York. They're on their own. They're taking care of their younger siblings. They may be 14. So there's nobody watching. There's nobody doing what we're talking about on the Warriors, helping them. We got to help all these kids. How are we going to figure out looking out for our neighbors appropriately? This is a tough job. So the next 4 years, we cannot, let's take our celebrations now. We must remain vigilant. I think this is the most important 4 years in the history of America. I'm saying that. That's my opinion. Because we need to continue the path we are on, okay? We need to continue what the Trump administration is laying out for us right now, that the American public voted for, everybody. And we need to continue that after these 4 years, right? Where's it going to go after this? We have to stay this course, but it's going to take all of us to stay this course. So we cannot rest on our laurels and just think everything's great and groovy, as we say around my household. We have to keep up what we're doing and the pressure. Let's look at some comments. Lynn, my wife, Linda, a retired RN, keeps saying a percentage of the missing children's organs are being harvested for profit. What do you think? Pete, that's another program. Yes, indeed, that is happening. That is most profitable. But we will not be discussing that right now. But we will be discussing that in the future. How can I even go there and discuss that when I can't even talk to a parent or a guardian about, do you know what your child's doing on their phone? Or do you know what this app Discord is? Or do you know what this game means? So before we get into all of that, and we know it's happening, right? Let us stick with the basics, because we can't even get over the hurdle of the basics. We can't even get over, we're making headway. I was very happy today because Ramsey, New Jersey, high school, proud of my home state. They started using the Yonder pouch. All of the high school students, upon entering the school, the Yonder pouch protects a cell phone and it locks it so they can keep the phone on them during the day. And then when they leave, there's a little machine. Remember those security tags that are on clothes and things like that? They had to put it in the machine and clip it off. And that's what they do at the end of the day or designated times during the day. They've been doing this for about a week. It's been running very smoothly. The kids are loving it. I saw these kids talking about it. They love, they don't have the distractions, but they love having their phone on them. Now, should there be some sort of emergency, they can go to those points and unlock the phone. The teacher said they're loving it. The kids are paying attention. The kids are talking to each other. They're having a great time in the cafeteria. This one little thing. So we have to move towards that. Also, the CEO of Pinterest, he put out today that he's going to be helping with an app about this whole phone-free schools. We talk about it on the Warriors. We also have in our Take Actions how you can approach, there's no laws for this. You have to approach your school district, be a class parent or be on the school board and bring this. So we put on the Warriors website, some suggestions, how you approach, what you might say, and always take along another parent with you. The more parents, there's power in numbers. take them along with you and approach your school, present it. I just gave you the story about Ramsey High School, Ramsey, New Jersey. You can use that as an example. Look how well it's working, Mr. Smith. We want this in our children's school, right? And it will snowball. It's a big movement, and the Warrior supports it, and we're part of it. We have studies. The kids do much better academically. They're paying attention. The teachers are loving it. So everybody needs to get on board. See, there's a take action, not that difficult. And you may not have children. You can share it with your neighbors. You can share the article, leverage your platforms for good. Somebody may see the article about Ramsey High School and say, wow, I didn't know that. Let me talk to my child's school, or let me put it on my X account or on my Facebook. There's so many little things that you can do. So I'm very happy that I'm seeing people moving in the direction. This awareness piece we talk about all the time, although I'm always about solutions, enough with the awareness, we know. But you know what? I have to take myself back a little bit. If we have to have this awareness to get you on board, get you on board. I heard a very disturbing fact, as January is National Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month, that now I even checked this out. It's unbelievable. Of all the trafficked people in the United States, 40% are of Native American heritage, although they make up 3% of our population. Now, this is something I saw for myself in the first Trump administration. I was in the White House at a human trafficking summit where President Trump presented to a tribal nation funds and also had their sheriff, because they have their own law enforcement on their reservations, on their lands. He wanted to form a partnership and help them, because so many of their women and girls just disappear. It's something like 60-something%, never to be heard from again. Unacceptable. I saw this. I witnessed this with my own eyes. Although fast forward, when I went to a group of indigenous people one night, a meeting here in New York, and I brought up the fact, and this work has to be continued. This was last summer. I was viciously attacked. I was told I was a liar. I was told that never happened. Whatever. I was there. I saw it. I know what happened with the funding. I know what happened with the law enforcement. And so now that work, things take time, was disrupted in the last 4 years. Now we're back on track. So we're going to see a lot of great initiatives. A lot of great people will be brought to the table you never heard from before. A lot of great new ideas. I am very encouraged. I am very hopeful. I just want everybody to really keep an eye on everything. Just really educate yourself. I can't say that enough. There's so much good out there. I also want to point out, let me check the comments so I didn't miss anything. Why do we have to use tech to protect our kids from tech? Just wondering who profits. Well, Stacia, we know who profits, big tech profits. But here's the thing. A lot of schools, and this is another initiative, are forcing the kids to use laptops to do their homework on, things of like that. That's what Pinterest. He wants to get the CEO, kids off of the devices as well. We also work on that. But when the teachers or the school system forces the child, you must use, and some kids, let me use New York City as an example. So we know that during that period, I don't like to say COVID, the kids were given these government-issued Chromebooks. Now, when kids lost, most of the time they were stolen, though. Kids ride subways here in New York to school. They couldn't get a replacement. So a lot of kids had to use a phone to, how hard that is to do their homework on a phone? Okay. Some kids didn't have internet. How can you do a forced homework assignment? You don't have your Chromebook because somebody stole it on the subway. You have a phone. You don't have internet. Kids were going to the libraries, and then they were closing the libraries down. Good news. Good news. They did reopen a lot of these libraries because kids would go there on a Saturday to use the internet and things like that. But that's a movement we have to get the teachers away from. Again, it's up to you to present these ideas in your school district or your classrooms. But we have to, our whole society, we live in a digital world, right? Our work is online. Our meetings are online. We have to it's always going to be that way, but we have to start removing that a little bit. That's really an initiative here at the Warriors we work on. But you have to do it. We don't have government regulation for all of these things. You can't demand, I guess you could, but we're not. You got to do it. It's state by state kind of thing, school by school, town by town, whatever it takes. You present the ideas. Again, you be the warrior. These big tech types keep products from their own children. So that should be the big warning bell, everybody. It's like TikTok. I would go to meetings and say, in China, they only allow their kids 40 minutes and then TikTok shuts down. And their content is educational. And their content is about their country and it's positive. And it doesn't work during nighttime hours because the biggest problem we have is kids bringing devices in their bedrooms. They're scrolling. It is proven addiction, scrolling, one thing, swiping, attention span of a gnat, can't concentrate. Therefore, kids stay up all night. Teachers were reporting to us kids were falling asleep with their heads on the desk because they're staying up all night on with the phones and on the devices, and things happen. Kids are feeling vulnerable at night. They're talking to strangers. Things happen. I don't have to tell you any of this. Keep the devices out of the bedrooms. Devices should be used in shared spaces. And I know kids give a little kickback there, a little yelling and screaming. We have lots of families that do this. And you know what? They report to us the kids are eventually happier. Let them scream for 2 weeks. You know what? They use it at the kitchen table. They use it in the study, wherever you're doing it. And you know what? No devices in the bedrooms. It goes, though, you have to lead by example. We got to really start doing this. We got to step up. It's 2025. We can't depend on the government. We can't depend on the schools. We got to do it. I don't care how overwhelmed and tired we are, and we all are. We have to be those warriors. But let that, as Joseph points out, they don't let their own kids. And they go on, they tell us this with these devices. Think about that. Okay. Extra Mile, thank you very much. Here's a small donation for the kids. You know what, Extra Mile? No donation is small. If somebody gives me a penny or $1 million, it's all the same. I am humbled and I am honored by all of that because every penny helps. The letters I received over the holidays from people I don't know, beautiful handwritten letters, with $5, or a great grandmother who explains things, sends me $1. Do you know what makes me cry? And I'm pretty tough. That means so much to me. Our funds go to education. Our funds go to supporting survivors. All this government money, and I'm here in New York City, number one thing, don't have resources for people. You can't slap a Band-Aid on any of this. You're saving people. It's done. It's over. These are lifelong traumas. The Brooklyn DA's office is doing an amazing job. I like to say it's a big wheel with a lot of spokes, and all those spokes have a different job. It makes the wheel go round. They have a full service with resources from the law enforcement to holding accountability of that pimp, that trafficker, that monster, that criminal, to the wraparound services, medical, psychological, housing. There's not enough housing. We work with 2 safe houses, constantly full, not enough beds. You can't just have somebody for a night or 2. It is a lifelong trauma. So this is why we want the intervention, because we can't stop. We can only support survivors and help them, but we can't intervene so we don't have these new victims. And especially our precious children. They're growing up listening to all of this, seeing all of this. I want to finish up with, let me just make sure I don't miss anything here. Jonathan, I'm not addressing comments like that. I guess you think you're being funny, but okay, whatever. Why don't you just talk to your kids? As tough as it is, you got to talk to them. You got to bite your tongue sometimes. You got to talk to kids, okay? It should not be, especially with the internet. You can't blame 30 and under. They have grown up with the internet, okay? Open and honest communication, age appropriate. You must. They're seeing and hearing things anyway. Let you be the leader and make sure they get the correct information. Yeah, Zelda, Nintendo all night long. See, that, Jonathan, is addictive, the gaming. Most boys are on gaming, and that's where the predators find most boys. We don't talk enough about the boys. I am working on a project, though, that will address boys in trafficking. I feel like those are the forgotten victims. They are embarrassed. They do not speak out. We have problems with sextortion. I'm going to leave it at that. Do your homework, look up sextortion. We've got all of the uh, people in Nigeria. That's their number one criminal enterprise, is extorting our American boys through this extortion scheme. Okay. We cannot have our children harming themselves because they're listening to strangers. They need to listen to us. And you know what? They're going to start because it's 2025. So I urge all of you, let's finish with, we really have to pray for California tonight, everybody, because there is a new fire, the Hughes fire. It's about 40 miles north of Altadena and Pacific Palisades. And right before we started, I got a notation from somebody that over 8,000 acres have burned. It started out as a small fire this morning, and now they're calling it a tornado fire. So we have more fires. This is complete devastation. We know with disaster, it brings on much more human trafficking, right? Slavery. People are vulnerable, more exploitation, all kinds of forms. And I urge you to go back to my interview I did with Cece Woods, investigative reporter out in LA, a former colleague, a friend of mine. She really is great boots on the ground. We discussed a lot of issues because I'm very concerned. I told her about kids and families, this devastation. What is the mindset? Are they going back? How do they go to school? What's happening? And you know what? I was told today a couple of people went back to their homes in Altadena. There's no help there. There's no anything. It's just burned out. Complete devastation. How do you rise up from that? How do you restart from that? So we are very lucky. All of us, we have roofs over our head tonight, food, and we need to pray for them, and we need to do anything we can do to help them. So think about it. Do some research about this. This is very frightening. It seems like the whole state of California is up in flames, doesn't it? This is moving north now. So let's think about that and think about what we can do for others. I know a lot of people that lost their homes and businesses in the last fires, which are not 100% contained. We're very fortunate. We got to be very happy for what we have in the moment. And we have to be very happy. We have a new administration. And I'm very happy that you've joined me tonight. I'm going to let all of you go. If it's nighttime, to enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for joining me. Let's just go back and see. I don't want to miss anything. Extra Mile, thank you so much. Remember, every penny counts. And I want to say one other thing. I want you all to get on board. I want you all to join me. And remember, we are the leaders. We need to teach the kids. When I say kids, I mean like 30 and under. And we need to lead by example. So go have a good evening. Thank you for joining me. Remember our hashtag, Community Creates Change, linswarriors.org. Join me. It's a great new year. A lot of great things are happening. Be thankful for what we have. And remember, each and every day when you wake up, what do I always tell you? Go out and be a warrior. Good night, everybody.